Ben McKee, Patrick Brown, GoVols 24/7 here on campus once again following the 7th day of fall camp and the final practice before Tennessee heads over to Neyland Stadium to go through scrimmage number 1 of the fall, which will be obviously a big day for everybody on the roster. Moving day of sorts, but today the focus was on receivers. We talked to Kelsey Pope, the receivers coach, after practice, and we also spoke to Ramel Keaton and McCall Castles, and the second receiver that I am
Dante
blanking
Thornton
on
Jr.
was Dante Thornton Jr., who is turning heads with his speed.
Yeah, everybody, you ask about Dante Thornton coming in from Oregon, the transfer. Didn't have a lot of production out there with the Ducks, did have some big plays in a big game against Utah last season, but everybody talks about his speed, so I asked him what's the fastest he's been clocked at. He said 24.3 miles per hour, which is pretty effing fast, let's just be honest. So, and he's 6'5", and even Kelsey Pope, the wide receivers coach, went as far as to say he's a bit of a blend of Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, which is
Interesting.
Pretty good. Those guys are doing pretty well in the NFL as rookies right now.
Yes.
But he's a guy that's working in the slot mostly. Does work outside some. Even though he's a big, long guy, I think he's a guy you want to keep off press coverage. You want to give him free releases. Kind of use him a little bit like they did with Jalen Hyatt last season, and get his speed in some good matchups and down the field and over the middle of the field as well.
Yeah, and with Dante, he's working in the slot right now, also working on the outside. I thought the more interesting storyline to come out of what we got through the media availabilities today was teams trying to negatively recruit against Tennessee in this offense, which we all knew, but it's interesting to hear Kelsey Pope talk about it. And I asked Dante Thornton, hey, did you hear schools negatively recruiting against Tennessee and their ability to develop? And he acknowledged that he received that during the process, and kind of just said, like, hey, what's working is working, and why change it if you're working? And if you can't beat it, that's on you, not us.
Yeah, and Kelsey Pope's point, and he kind of brought this up on his own, kind of bristled at it a little bit, and Josh Heupel's done this too, where the knock on the offense is that it doesn't get you ready for the NFL, it doesn't translate. And Pope said that in this offense you have to win one-on-one matchups, and that's all it is in the NFL. So that's the most base translatable part of this offense that I think Cedric Tillman in a preseason game and Jalen Hyatt in just about every day of Giants training camp is showing that they're making plays and maybe kind of bucking that notion a little bit from the NFL and from other teams that are recruiting against Tennessee.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just the receiver position. There's other positions as well that are bucking that trend, so to speak. Also spoke to Ramel Keaton. He continues to have a quiet confidence. He's rocking a new number 9. No particular reason that he went with 9, but he said that he did not like 80 and has been trying to get out of 80 since his freshman season, but they finally let him this offseason. So he continues to have that quiet confidence and continues to quietly produce out there as well.
Yeah, he's a guy that if you came in this building this summer, you probably saw him in there catching the jugs. I was a little surprised to hear that Nathan Leacock, the freshman, caught more footballs off the jugs than Keaton did. Leacock at 22,000, which is insanity, but it kind of shows you the work ethic of that room and the legacy that they've kind of carried on from Bayless Jones, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman. So, Keaton, I think, is maybe not an elite speed, doesn't have the length, he's not the bruiser like Brew McCoy is, but he's just a really technical receiver. He knows how to get open. He's improved his hands, I think, and I think he's a guy that Joe Milton has a lot of trust in.
Absolutely, and my biggest observation from practice itself was Joe Milton and his ability to throw the changeup, take a little bit off, show some touch. They were doing red zone throws against air. Take it with a grain of salt. It was against air, but he was showing some really, really good touch that he did not show at the beginning of his Tennessee career.
Yeah, and they're working some other guys, shifting the offensive line. They're getting a few different guys some looks at center because Cooper Mays is, I don't know if he's in bubble wrap or if he's got an injury. They're just trying to keep him. They're trying to get him to the season. So some other guys are getting some looks there at center.
They absolutely are. We have all of those observations and notes up at GoVols 24/7 from practice this morning. No media availability for practice tomorrow, but Josh Heupel will speak after fall camp scrimmage number 1, and we, of course, will be on hand for that. For Patrick Brown, I'm Ben McKee of GoVols247.com.